The next is E, development permit application number DP 1308-855 Douglas Avenue. Mr. Holm again.
Thank you, Your Worship. A development permit application. This is for relaxation to a watercourse leaf strip from 30 meters to 4.5 meters for the construction of a detached secondary suite on the property. The property is within development permit area 1, environmentally sensitive areas, and is located adjacent to the Chase River. You can see it outlined in red there. The tree area is predominantly within a forested ravine adjacent to the Chase River. There's a small portion of the property closer to Douglas that's clear and relatively level, and is the proposed site of the secondary suite. So the entire property is actually within the watercourse setback, so variance is required to allow the construction of the suite. The proposal includes as well the removal of an existing shed that's closer to the bank, closer to the tree ravine, which was identified by the qualified environmental professional that provided a report to support the proposal as high-value habitat. So the treed ravine is high-valued habitat. The rest of the property is currently cleared. The existing shed closer to the ravine is to be removed. Accessory dwelling unit closer to Douglas Avenue is to be constructed. And the qualified environmental professional identified that removal of the shed will improve the site conditions overall. Happy to take any questions on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We do have a couple of questions from council. Councillor Armstrong.
I guess one of my concerns is I understand that he thinks it's going to make it better, but would there be an impact when they start doing the construction to, like soil sliding in, et cetera?
Thank you, through your worship. Yeah, the qualified environmental professional did address that and said that standard measures to prevent erosion and erosion sediment control methods would address any concerns around that. So yeah, they didn't foresee any issues with that.
Thank you. I'll wait till I hear from our NALT representation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perino.
Actually, Councillor Armstrong asked my question. Thank you.
Very good. We have a delegation. Mr. Chapman, good evening. I don't have to repeat. Yes, getting close. It's morning somewhere in the world.
It's morning somewhere. It's certainly after my bedtime.
If you could introduce yourself just for the record.
Paul Chapman with the Nanaimo and Area Land Trust. I'm normally not up this late unless I'm about to say Happy New Year, so I'll try and be quick. And so I'm going to toss out the speech I made, although you would have all been wowed by my eloquence, just to say that this application doesn't meet the requirements of the bylaw. This council, slam, crash, bang, this council wisely altered the bylaw to change it from no net loss to net gain. And this application doesn't give net gain. Doesn't do it. It's not in there. It's not in the QEP report. And the closest it comes to it is the fact that they're taking down a shed, but it doesn't show any net gain. It's just lawn. And the requirements of the bylaw are that there be net gain in habitat, and it's not in there. It's just not there. So, I don't know what to say about that. It's not a would be nice to. We could do. It's a there must be. If you permit change in the leaf strip, not in the SPIA, in the leaf strip that's a city requirement, if you permit disturbance in there, then there must be restoration and enhancement. And the goal is for that to be 2 times the area of the disturbance. It's not in this. There's no, and there's supposed to be a costed out, detailed report on how that's going to be done. That's not here. It just doesn't meet the requirements of the bylaw. There's no net gain. There's no plan for net gain. There's no report on net gain. It's just not here. That was quick.
Councillor Gesselbrook.
I got a question for staff.
Okay. Councillor Perino, question for the delegation.
Yes, I do. I have a question for the delegation. So, Mr. Chapman, your recommendation that council issue development permit, right, for a proposed detached secondary suite within the watercourse leaves strip. with, anyway, the address, with a variance as outlined in the proposed variance. Is that correct? Is that what you're recommending?
I'm saying that it's not meeting the requirements of the bylaw, so you shouldn't even consider it.
You're against this altogether, is that correct?
I don't think that the requirements have been met. I don't think there's a vote for or against. It's just an incomplete application.
Okay.
It's the language is where disturbance within an ESA, and again, the ESA is the city requirements, where that disturbance happens, there must be restoration and enhancement. And if you go down, so it's of the zoning bylaw, it's 18.1.4, F and G, they spell out what's required, and it's not in this application.
Okay, thank you. And your worship, so my question as well as to the staff, so thank you.
Thank you.
For Mr. Chapman?
Mr. Chapman, sorry, Councillor Armstrong.
Take that aside, if that was there, would you have issues with this, the way it is done, based on your experience?
Generally, I would, I get up here and speak whenever there's a riparian setback variance request, but without knowing what that additional piece, that net gain would be, I don't know what I'd be, and I don't think anyone can. It's incomplete.
You answered my question, thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that's the last of the questions for the delegation. Your question, Mr. Councillor Gesselbrock, is for staff, please.
Thanks, Your Worship, through you. Just a question to staff. I'm just curious, like in the DPA guideline, it is a requirement to demonstrate net gain. I'm just curious, was it applied, and if it wasn't, how come? Thank you.
Yes, through your worship. So, yeah, the principle that was included with the amendments along with city plan was a principle of from no net loss to net gain. So there are some criteria or some principles that guide what net gain could look like metrically. What's proposed here in the QEP's position, opinion, and staff are in concurrence with, does constitute net gain. Could it be improved to meet the metrics? Possibly, but it's our opinion that it complies with the development permit area guidelines. So it does achieve some improvement. There isn't restoration enhancement. The QEP didn't see that as necessary. The functional high-value habitat is within the ravine, and there was no additional restoration enhancement recommended. But they did make the statement that the removal of the shed would improve the site conditions overall. So in our opinion, it does meet the development permit area guidelines.
Is that it, Councillor Gesselbrock?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think just having that expressed in the report clearly, I think, is always appreciated. Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Brown?
Thank you, Worship. If there's no other, I would like to move that DP 1308 be denied for the reasons that the principle of net gain has not been demonstrated and the required reporting has not been submitted.
So your new motion, different motion, that the principle hasn't been met.
And I can speak to it quickly. I do think we made this change. It wouldn't be a hard process for a QEP to meet. The QEP report essentially followed provincial methodology, and our development permit area goes beyond that now. It has some additional requirements. I don't think they've been demonstrated, and as such, I think there needs to be amendment to the QEP. Ultimately, development permits are a pathway to yes, and I think they could easily demonstrate it based on what the site looks like, especially if you take an aerial photo of how they can add some habitat and go beyond just removing the shed. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been seconded. Councillor Thorpe, then Councillor Gesselbrock.
Thanks, Your Worship. I struggle to see the rationale here. we're getting hung up in, I think, semantics. When I read in the report that the development permit area guidelines demonstrates improved site conditions that will achieve an increase in the quality and quantity of functional habitat over existing conditions, and I've just heard that from staff as well. So to me, I don't see a problem with this, and I'm not prepared to deny it.
Thank you very much. I'll be very quick. I agree entirely with Councillor Thorpe's comments, and I'm not going to prolong this by debating this at 10 to midnight. All those in favor of Councillor Brown's motion? Councillors Armstrong, Eastmere, Gesselbrock, Manley, and Brown. And those opposed? Councillors Hemmons, Mayor Krogh, Councillor Thorpe, Councillor Brino. The motion carries. I wished I debated longer.